Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to Affect Studio. I want to share some observations on liquid profiling and demonstrate the way the gain now works almost like a real amp. Exactly what I've always wanted from it. We no longer have the need for multiple profiles to get an accurate tone with different amounts of gain. I'm going to start with a profile of my Plexi style head into my Marshall quad. I've started with an existing profile of the amp on 10, which Kemper says is the way to make new liquid profiles. Previously, turning the gain down would result in a darker tone as the tone of the speakers didn't change like it does in real life. You can watch my video on real speakers versus impulse responses for some examples of that. So I don't know what they've done here, but it does seem to work pretty much like a real amp. So here's my existing profile. And here's my new liquid profile. Now previously, if I turn the gain down, it would just get really muddy and a lot darker. If I got down, right down, that's still more drive than my amp would have at that lower volume. But now we've got a clean amp. Now I did notice, and I do notice here, that the volume at that point is actually a lot louder than it is with the volume all the way up. So the dynamics aren't quite right as they're turning it down, but it's pretty close. So in that case, I'll just need to adjust the output volume to make sure it's not too loud. But that's a huge improvement on what it was before, which was basically had to have a whole new profile for a clean sound. One thing I found I did need to do was reduce the value of the bright cap in their menu. So you go through the amplifier menu again, and there's bright cap control here between the gain pot and the amp model. And I've got on 3.8 now, which is probably more like if I had the amp channels bridged. It's sort of 50-50 between bright and dark. Now if you're not sure what the bright cap does, it's just a small value capacitor that goes between the lugs on a volume pot between the gain stages. So when the amplifier is on full, you don't get any of that because electricity is going to go through the path of least resistance, and so it's not doing anything. But as you increase the resistance in the potentiometer or pot by turning it down, the capacitor is going to pass through more of the high frequencies, and so you get a brighter sound. So with something like a Marshall, when you plug it in at really low volumes, like with the Plexi, it's quite bright and scratchy, and so therefore that's the reason for that. And then as you turn it up, it becomes less scratchy because it's having less of the capacitor influencing the sound, less of that bright cap in the circuit. Listening back to my video yesterday, I liked the tone of the generic EQ in the Bassman, which made me wonder why I was still craving the real tone controls. It was obvious with something like the AC30, where they're so interactive, but not with the Fender. I realised that the big difference is the old way was basically compensating for the profile. In a situation like yesterday where the tone was already good with the Bassman and nicely balanced, the generic EQ was just enhancing that. But if the profile was, say, too bright or too dark, you're trying to counteract and undo that brightness or that darkness with a different EQ. Now this is a profile of a deluxe reverb style amp I built. It's been voiced to be less bright and slightly richer in tone than a stock deluxe. Now for this profile, the controls were set to a can't imagine using it, but just in case it might be useful one day tone. So it's too fat for most things. EQing with the generic EQ is fine and may give a better result for some things, but for turning into a liquid profile, I can see where it was set and make more informed tonal decisions. It also means I won't have to go through multiple profiles of the amp to find the version that's closest to what I'm wanting. So this is the deluxe profile. And here's the liquid profile. So once again, the amp's on 10. With this one, I also reduced the value of the bright cap to make it, sound less harsh as I turned it down. Now, in this case, it's just too bassy and probably needs some more top end. So if I turn that down, as with the amp, it's not a massive difference, but it's, it sounds better to me now. Now, it's something I could use. Now if I go over to the gain control and turn that down, once again, it's much louder when the gain's all the way down. For some reason, it's clean. So I thought it'd be interesting to compare a clean turn I did in the Plexi at the same time I did that other one we're using, and see how that goes with the liquid profile compared to the original clean turn I profiled. So that's the one I did when I was doing the profiles, and this is a new liquid profile I made earlier. Notice I've got the amp volume way down, -4 there, to make it match up volume-wise, because like I said before with that Deluxe, and also with the Marshall, when you turn it down, for some reason the clean gets really loud. But yeah. So that's almost exactly the same, which is just absolutely amazing. You certainly couldn't do that prior to liquid profiling. So this is, very impressive. Now Kemper tell you to make the profiles with the amp on full and the tone controls on 12 o'clock, which is what I've used the ones, with the amp on full for these examples, which makes complete sense. You get the full extreme of the sound of the amp, with the full gain, full amount of overdrive, get the output tubes, harmonic richness going there. But how does it sound if you start with a clean profile and turn that up? How does it cope with that? Here's another Deluxe reverb profile I did clean. And my new copy, which I also think is too dark. So I'm going to turn up the treble here. I notice when you turn the gain below there, doesn't seem to make a difference, but yeah, I like that it's now says it was on 2.4 to be generic gain 0. Now, if I turn this up, so that sounds good, but it's nothing like the real amp cranked. It's definitely a generic modeler sort of sound, which could be perfect for some things, and it's just another tonal option that's now there. And I think that's pretty exciting about this too. Apart from the authenticity, you can actually take it places that you couldn't necessarily do before with it. And I'm looking forward to being able to do things like putting the tone stack of say a 5150 on a profile of my Tweed Champ, which has no tone controls, and I'm mixing and matching, which is the sort of thing I've always done in the studio anyway, mixing speaker cabs from amps, for example. Everything sounds good through the Vox speakers, but I often record the Bassman or Plexi into the Vox speakers because it's just a great sound and very different to the way they sound through their own cabs. So there it is, way more going on than just having authentic tone controls. Really does put the Kemper on a whole new level for those of us wanting the sound and response of a real amp. I'm very impressed. So once again, thanks for watching. Enjoy the new Kemper features. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.